I'm Atul Khola. I suck at maths, but there's one equation I don't get wrong, which is beautiful UI plus efficient UX plus delightful interaction leads to a timeless product. The space is beautiful. What you'll create is going to change so many perceptions over time. Just make sure it's on the right side. Swiggy came in and said, why do you have to wait for like 1 hour? I'll give you in 30 minutes. You're like, amazing. Zepto came in and said 10 minutes and dining is on the app right now. Like, humans always want more and more convenience. Like, I've seen those phones which go like playing snakes on that Nokia ka dabba device. Technology has peaked. I think compound interest is a beautiful concept that I'm understanding now. So that way I don't end up investing a lot of thought into the whole money part of things. And that's where I come to you folks.
Oh,
where
nice. Episode of House of Equentis podcast. Now, today we have a fantastic guest joining us. Now, he's a designer who has shaped user experience for some of India's top tech companies from CureFit to CRED. So please welcome Atul Khola, the lead product designer at CRED and also the founder of DesignDrug. Hi, Atul.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me over. And for a very kind introduction. But before we start, I'd like to highlight that any of the products that I've worked for, I think it's a massive team effort. I think we have around 50 designers at CRED, from VFX to motion to illustration, product, creative, visual, everything. And I think anything good that goes out there, it's a lot of teamwork that goes behind it.
Are you being modest?
I'm being very honest about this one. I think I was very lucky to work with some of the smartest people and some of the most creative folks around me. And I think that has led to a lot of good things.
That's nice.
Thank you so much for
Very
that.
humble. Okay, so I think I heard the team talk about how the introduction is always so, standardized. Like, okay, what's your journey been like and things like that. So I want to ask you one question, very important question to me. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
None. I like milkshakes with ice cream
Oh
and
my
with
God.
thick straws. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, then. So now let's talk about your journey. So you started off at NIFT and then you went to CRED. Tell me all of those hardships that you faced and how you overcome them.
I won't like. I think in this whole journey, I've met some really amazing people who have gone through real hardships. I think relatively, I've had a very privileged.
Background.
Yeah, I think so far the journey has been pretty nice. I won't lie. I think there were some hurdles here and there. I think we'll cover up this. I think I'm someone who always was made to believe like I'm artistic. I think I don't know if people can relate to this, but when you're in school, there are always 3 to 4 kids in a class who kind of go out and they kind of draw and they're sent for drawing competitions. And when it continues for like 5 to 6 years, the illusion that you're an artist kind of kicks in really well. But I think my parents were more like, this is a hobby, just keep it around that. I have a sister, Amisha. She's very creative. She's in NIFT Bangalore right now. But she came 9 years after I was born. So for the longest time, I had the whole single kid attention on me. It was kind of a helicopter parenting. And around 9th and 10th, they were like, they introduced me the idea of this place called Kota. I don't know if you guys seen Kota Factory and all
Kota.
that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, bad flashbacks.
The coaching center.
Yes. So I think that was a way for me to get out of the whole helicoptering. So I kind of did that. I moved to Kota, and I think for me it was like when you kind of let a dog loose or a leash the first time it runs, and I ran. And I kind of wasted 2 years of my life in a way. I want to remember, like, sometimes you get homework when you're in school and you go like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go back home and do it. Then you're like, I'll watch cartoon first. Then you're like, maybe I'll go out play and then I'll come back and do it. And at night you're like, let it go. I might not just do it. That was like 2 years of my life where it just like, sure. And it came to a point where, let alone IIT, even 11th, 12th kind of came into a space of like, okay, this might go down the drain. And during that time, one of my best friends called me. Anuj, loved the guy to bits. And he was like, bro, you know what? My dad is a civil engineer. My brother's an architect. I want to be an architect and one day we'll create something beautiful together. And I was in love with that dream. I was like, I don't have mine, but I like yours. So I'll also be an architect. And that's how I kind of came back to Gurgaon. And I was learning about architecture, perspectives, and everything. And at that point in time, this one teacher was helping me out, said that just like in NATA, which is for architecture, there is this exam called NIFT and NID. Ye bhi de dena. I was like, cool. gave that exam. NATA went really well. NIFT somehow cracked. NID mein nahi hua. But yeah, I think then I had to choose between should I pick a government college or should I pick a private one? And I already had wasted enough money in quota, so I was like,
Okay.
I'll stick to the government one. And yeah, I think I went there, and I think you kind of so there was this one subject called GD, which I thought was game design. And imagine the lack of research and intent in me as a person where I went like, "Wo yoga," and I chose FC as a branch because that had that subject. 2 weeks into NIFT, turns out it's called graphic design, not something that
Okay.
I was expecting. But I'm like, okay, let me just figure out what this is about. And the first thing I realized was I'm not meant for fashion, which
Okay.
is a great realization to enter a college which is all about fashion
All
with
about
5,000
fashion,
kids.
yeah.
But some of the illusions kind of popped, some of the bubbles popped really well. I thought I was an artist. I went there and I never really painted. I was mostly around sketches and everything. And then I saw people who have like these toothbrushes and they're painting galaxies with it. I'm like, this is not. So I think first the bubble that popped up was, yeah, not really an artist because people around me were geniuses. Like imagine cream of the cream, top 5,000 kids from all over India, people who really wanted to do fashion throughout came into a space and were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna really kill at this. And I was like, I thought GD was graphic game design and I came in there. So I focused on other things that NIFT had to offer as a college. Without going more details into that, around first year, I got introduced to this subject, graphic design. The first year is around foundation, so you do pretty much everything. I found myself creating something with Oon, and I was like, this is exactly what I was running away from, and I chose this FC as a space. But second year became like your core department that you've chosen. And graphic design was something I realized was really the only thing that could connect to because other subjects were like fashion journalism. And I wanted to imagine people walking on a ramp wearing haute couture stuff, like stuff that I couldn't comprehend.
Okay.
And in journalism, I have to write about it and communicate it to the rest of the world. I'm like, what I can't comprehend, I can't explain it to
You
everyone.
can't, yes.
But graphic design was one space which, if you have what, how. So if this is the world of fashion, and this is the world that I want to communicate something to, the channel is graphic design. I can turn it and communicate it in different visual form factors and how I want. I can decide the narrative of it. I can decide how it should be communicated to them. Graphic design was that channel, and I loved the fact that I had so much control on the how of it. And I think I had my own sweet journey around this when this one subject was somehow powering me through the other 10 subjects
Okay.
because anything that has to be communicated has to go through this. So I think I started my journey as one of the last, I was the bottom two in a class of 40 kids.
Okay.
And I think I had 5.7 as my GPA when I started.
Okay.
But graphic design was one thing that kind of gave me so much uh, power in terms of communication. I ended it with by topping all 15 centers of India.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was very surprising to me and my parents because the last time I gave them that kind of happiness was when I came third in class first. So they were like, "This guy is like, not really," but it really was fun that whole journey. It was something that it was fun to see yourself after 4 years and seeing like what you've kind of come through. And with this, I somehow joined a product company called Topper EduTech, and I think once you are kind of out of college, you're used to like every week jury, so you're like working day in day out, and that kind of grit kind of came to Topper as well. And that's where I found my mentor Malik, and
Okay.
he was someone who was this really cool hip guy, uh, comes in, creates some amazing designs, and then we got really good in terms of how we both could connect to each other. We became great friends. And then once he got invested in me, he was like, I really want to try product design. And he was like the superstar in terms of design in that company. And I was like, I've already done 4 years of studying. I don't want to study anything again. Now finally it's there.
Okay.
And he's like, no, please try. I was like, okay. So I would every day wake up, go for a stand up at 9 a.m. Not a fan of that. Work till like 7, 8, go back home, like work out, go back home. And every day for 4 to 5 hours, I'll just simply sit, replicate screens from Dribble, create that whole thing. And it took me a lot of time to eventually get a sense of what is white padding, why is this 12 font being used. And the thing I loved about learning from Malik was he was self-known designer. So he was completely operating on first principles. No rules, no laws.
Okay.
It was all driven by common sense, and that's how I learned product design. And by the end of it, I think I realized another thing about mentorship is like friendship. You can't ask for
Very
it.
true.
It is something
Yes.
that you just create a bond, and the other person
Correct.
really wants you to win. Because this person literally had to sit and sometimes recreate all my screens
Hmm.
because he's the one who got me into product design org. So he's like, I'll help you through it. And he invested a lot of that energy into me for me to be where I am. And I think what I realized about that is while graphic design gave me control on the how, product design gave me control on what.
Okay.
And now I have complete control on the storytelling, the narrative, what I want to tell to the world, and how I want to tell it.
Okay.
And that's when I realized, like, I think I've found my thing,
Hmm.
and it has been a lot of years since then. And every day I wake up, I'm super excited about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to crack, and what is the new experience in the story I'm going to tell to my users. And I don't look at them as users. I think they're amazing people whose life I get to like uplift a little or create something memorable in their day, and that really excites me. And something I realized where I get to sit here and be here, one of the reasons is because I feel no one is self made. People make
Very
people.
true.
And so many beautiful people, men, women who came into my life and they gave me like sometimes an advice, support, sometimes a chill beer to kind of just invest a little bit in me, which kind of puts me in a space where I can be that person for maybe someone. I could be a Malik for someone else. So yeah, that's
Are
what
you a Malik to someone else?
I try to.
Okay.
I really try. And I hope I am.
That seemed like a very interesting journey, yeah? So now, let me ask you a very fundamental and a very basic question. Might be very basic to you, but not to our audience. What exactly is product design?
I think product design is a beautiful triangulation between art, technology, and human psychology. I think a lot of times we have this whole, the whole polarizing question around art and design, and they're not the same and everything. But I think art for the longest time was looked at as a very personal pursuit.
Correct?
Like people think that you do it for yourself and
Hmm.
it's about self expression and all of that stuff. But I don't think art and design are different. I think art is something that makes eventual design because I think design is basically democratizing art.
Okay.
Like I get to make you feel something
Okay.
in a way because you're invested into it. Like even a way of you finding a cab around you. If you think about it, because our source of truth is what we see every day. Take everything out of it. It could be something as simple as get me cab. Cab comes, sorted.
Hmm.
But someone went and said that I'm going to tell you a story.
Hmm.
This is where you are.
Hmm.
These are the places that you've been.
Correct.
And I'm going to find you that cab in the most beautiful possible. I'll show like, you're here, you want to go here, things are moving here. I'm finding these cabs around you. Like, I created a story for you to understand. Like, you understand what happens on the back end because of the way it's presented to you.
Correct.
And that itself is art. If I could understand what's happening, what you're doing for me, and if you can present it in a beautiful way, which makes it memorable for me, because if I'm telling you about this, that means somewhere I sat and maybe I thought or subconsciously absorbed. I think design helps you do that, but without art, I don't think that's possible.
Wow, that's very
Because
beautifully put.
yeah. And I
Nice.
think that is what product design is for me. It's about somehow delivering art to people in a way that they can absorb and understand,
Hmm.
and it caters to them as much as it caters to me.
Nice. Also, we see a huge influx of product designers now. Like, I have so many friends who are product designers, especially in a tech city like Bangalore. So, what's really driving that demand? Is it the money?
I mean, there's no question about it. I think, and I'll tell you what, like, until a couple of years back, I would have said that if you're not passionate about art and creativity, don't
Pursue.
design.
Yeah.
I feel a little differently about it now. I feel like it's passion that is most important. And I think it is okay if the why that fuels this passion is something more around, I just want to make more money. It is okay if it's as materialistic or transactional as that. But what's important is you feel about it hard enough or you just feel about it so strongly that you will end up doing justice to the role and the shoes that you're in. Because whatever we as designers create today is going to be the source of truth of what experience is supposed to be for a lot of people out there. It's important that we set it right.
Okay.
Uh, like, I think there's certain amount of integrity with which you have to design things in a way that if you die tomorrow, you are very happy to put your name on the last thing that you crafted.
Hmm.
And if you design it like that, And if whatever your why is motivating you or fueling your energy like that, that's completely fine. Do it for that. I mean, money is good. It really helps make life easy. Why not go for it? It's just like feel about it that way.
Okay.
Like that means that you'll not half-ass something by saying that. Okay, what's the other word? It's like you just do, like you won't find shortcuts in life just because you're not good at something. Like a lot of, so engineers is what I've realized after spending 2 years with the people who most of them became engineers is they're still figuring out life. They don't know what they have to do, but this is something just puts them in a much safer spot that we'll figure out on the way. But ye to kar lete hain, this just keeps us in a safe space. A lot of people when they look at design, they see like, oh, this is actually making good amount of money. Let me get into it. Now, a difference between a creative person who has been an artist since they're kid is they have kind of appreciated beauty throughout their life. Like I'm a very illogical person when it comes to this. So let's say I have two options to buy something. One is aesthetically pleasing, but might not turn out to be the best investment in a couple of months. The other one is, let's say, not so great looking, but it's gonna like do justice to its core job for the rest 7, 8 years. With all these, uh, I think, pointers given to me, I would still somehow end up choosing option A because my brain doesn't function that way. It's like I want to see it every single day. I'll end up choosing that. And that bias is something that has been hammered into me since I was a kid. When I look at, I think when I came to the studio, I looked at
Yeah.
every single piece. I was like, this is so beautiful.
Yes.
And that taste is developed over a span of so many years now. When a very functional, perspective based person eventually comes into this field, it's very hard for them to appreciate beauty. And what's even harder is to pull that into the work that they're creating. So a lot of times you'll see very silly memes on LinkedIn saying that this is not UX, this is UI, and UX is not equal to UI and all that stuff. Just because you're not good at something, you have two options. Either you say that, you know what, uh, I'm not good at this, or you end up criticizing it, saying that maybe this space itself is not great. Now, what I would expect from a person who really wants to be a designer right now is it's okay if you're doing it because it's very lucrative in terms of money, is you'll hammer on that craft day in, day out, and you will try to work very hard to be at the same space as someone who has built it since they were a kid. You will not say stuff like design is not how it looks, it's how it works, because Steve Jobs said that. Like, this was the guy who would go to an industry and check every sheet of metal and be like, I want to use this for my phone. That dude cared about attention to detail. A lot of times, people end up using these reasons to like just have debates and win debates by quoting these people, but everything is so contextual. Like, a lot of people would say that good design is invisible. That's just not how humans work.
Correct.
Never in my life ever have been like, "Ki, I will work so hard, so much into this thing that no one's gonna know about it." That's not how we kind of create anything in life. I don't want to create another cloud and put it in a sky full of clouds. I want to create northern lights. I want the person who sees what I've created to sit down, look at it, admire it, and tell people about it. I want it to be a memorable experience. Like, there's so many things out there that come from a very functional perspective to your life, but when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I would like, if there's anyone out there who wants to be a designer, and it's okay if you want to be in this space because it's it's booming right now, be there. We need a lot of smart designers out there. But put your heart and soul into it. Don't do it for very transactional purposes because you'll find the space is beautiful. What you'll create is going to change so many perceptions over time. Just make sure it's on the right side.
That's nice. Also, you just spoke about UI design and UX, right? This user interface and user experience.
Right.
And these words are usually thrown around with product design.
Oh, yeah.
So, are they different, or does product design entail all of these other terms?
I think designing is all about creating an experience. Uh, and I think when you try bifurcating it further and further, you can always get to the most atomic level of things. But in the end, it's the organism that makes sense. I think product design is that.
Okay.
Now, people end up kind of drilling it down into further different charters. There is UI, which is user interface design. There is UX, which is user experience design. And there is interaction design. Now, each of these parts, they come together to create an experience for a user. But if you have to explain each one of them, user experience design is designing on a journey of a user. If, let's say, we both had to be on this podcast, Your journey was getting up, coming to this place through one of the transportation mediums that you have. It has your whole journey, and someone is solutioning for that. Now, UI experience design is more around finding, like, if I have to put all of this in a screen, how do I kind of think about, affordances? Like, UX will tell me that, uh, you know what, I want this user to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I as a UI designer have to understand that how do I prioritize this through affordance, through proximity, through all different principles of design and art to fit this in a screen where it looks experiential at the same time solves for that purpose. And interaction design is about designing that whole experience where once you tap, how do I initiate that journey? It's about
Okay.
storytelling,
Okay.
but done through screens. Like you tap on the map, it expands a certain way. You tap on a location, it lets you change that. Like how do you interact with that interface that is created with that experience in mind? That interaction is done through you, through interaction design. All of these things come together to create that experience for the user. A lot of times you will see people debating on the fact that, oh, UI is not more important, UX is more important, all that stuff. The thing is, they are not two ends of a graph. They're literally two different X and Y axis. Uh, something can be really great in terms of getting the job done, but could look really bad. That means it's plotted in a wrong space. Where you want to be plotted at is somewhere here, which is great at both the spaces, and it's very much possible. But what happens is when you're not good at one thing, and that's what's happening. Like a lot of people who are not from the art background, they're entering the space, and when they realize that they're not very good at one of these things, they end up diminishing it rather than working on making it better for themselves.
Okay, Atul. Can I ask you a controversial question? Can I?
I'll know after you ask the question.
Do you think product designers are overpaid?
I think this is probably one of the first few times in the history of humankind where art is actually getting paid because it could find its way in a way where it could impact masses.
Everyday life.
Yeah. And I think it was long due because I think, and it's very recent that this has happened because I remember, like, if this was not true, maybe most of our parents would have been like, oh, yeah, you're an artist, go ahead, go for it. But most of us remember that space as, oh, you're good at it, keep it as a hobby. Don't make a living out of it.
True.
Most of the things that are very experiential and artistic in nature, we all have been advised to keep it as a hobby and not as something to pick up continuously is because there was very less faith of it turning into something that can give you a good life. And I think finally that's happening, and I hope it continues. But one thing I'm sure is the space of creating experiences for people, this should be highly valued, and this will always be valued because humans always want more. I want you to remember the time when we used to get these newspapers at home and you'll get some pamphlets slipped into it, which is like, oh, my favorite restaurant. We used to bring Domino's food coupons because one on Friday used to be there. So, like, slip it and give it to the guy when he comes for delivery. Now, from that to coming of Zomato, where it said that, hey, you might sometimes, Didi is cleaning, she threw that coupon, now you don't have it anymore, you don't have that pamphlet, you don't have that phone number. Let me put all these phone numbers and menus on an app. And that's when Zomato came in. Sometime later, you realize, okay, I'm calling and it's working, but during lunch and dinner hours, when there's so much of flooding calls, you're not able to connect to the restaurant. And Food Panda came in and said that, hey, why do you have to wait that much? Just simply, you don't need any human contact here. Order it on the app, we'll get the food. And you're like, wow, this is something incrementally good. Why not? Let's go for it. And then Swiggy came in and said, why do you have to wait for like 1 hour? I'll give you in 30 minutes. We're like, amazing. And Zepto came in and said 10 minutes and dining is on the app right now. Like, humans always want more and more convenience. Like, I'm so sure.
True, very true.
कल को अगर स्विगी मुंह में आके खाना भी खिला के जाएगा ना, someone's out there's gonna be like, you know what, food amazing. If it's tasting good, it's definitely making you fat. How about this crazy pill? Eat it. It's gonna taste like ice cream, but it's gonna give you protein. You'll be highly ripped. And the funny part about it, it doesn't feel like it's impossible. This might come as well. But for every single incremental upgrade that humans have had, they've required an experience for it. The reason why most of the businesses currently exist on phone is because that is one device that has penetrated through all tiers of the world.
Yeah.
That requires an experiential design. Designers will be there. We might move from a phone to a VR experience where AR, everything is out there in the world with your vision pros and stuff. That too will require an experience with a bigger canvas. As long as people need experience, experience creators will be there. Our mediums might change, but I think we'll be in business. So I think we are getting paid to create that journey for the next generation, what they're going to experience. It's important. I think people should experience good things in life.
For
and
sure.
People should create that experience.
Yes.
So I think we're paid nice.
Fair.
And I hope
Fair
this just gets better.
compensation. Yeah. Okay, nice. Fair answer. All right. So we all know that, design plays a big role in the tech world. So what is the current state and where do you see it, say, in the next 10 years?
I think kind of overlaps with the last question that we said. I think we have come along a long way. I think it's kind of getting valued right now. I think for the longest time we thought of things as, oh, this is a MVP, minimum viable product. And then we realized that just making something functional is not cutting it. Because a person or a startup that is created right now, right? If it just gets the minimum done, it still has to stand with a set of apps on your phone like Swiggy, Zomato, that really kill in terms of experience. People have raised their standard of what they perceive as good experience. That doesn't cut out anymore. What you need is minimum MAP, minimum awesome experience. You create small, but you don't create sloppy. You create it in the best way you can experience that small thing that you're creating. And I think that requires design. And even folks who are from, let's say, SaaS experience right now, even they are realizing that the person who's using my product right now is also the person who used most of these B2C experiences like your Urban Clap and your Zomatos and your Swiggies and your Ubers. You cannot always push this on them. One of the best examples was Sketch when it came back. Like Adobe for the longest time, I think, was the only creative software that everyone used to use. I remember back in college, I had pirated version of that because you can't really purchase them or didn't have the money power for that. But that led our life for the longest time. And most of these deals are cracked in a very different way. Like the CTO of that company will go on a dining meeting over time, they'll talk, they'll find bonding, and everyone rest in the company will have to use that software that came out of that deal. And then people started realizing that what I do is very core to my job. And that's when instead of top down, it started becoming bottom to top. Your Sketch, Figma, all of this is when users started using something, designers started using something and said that, you know what, this is a great experience. This is how I create the best experience that I want to give to my users. And that's how it started reaching on the top. A lot of experiences that people are creating right now are coming up to the creators that way. In terms of users, I think this whole AI switch that's coming in, I think that's going to really, really change the way we create experiences. Like some years back when you had to create, let's say, buy a great set of specs, you would go to Google, you'd be like, oh, you know what, I need these Blu-ray lenses, specs and stuff like that for computer usage. And you'll get 10 options. Now you'll go to each one of them, be like, oh, this is what I don't like this. You'll shortlist and you'll go to that. Now you kind of go and surf through the results and discover what you want. With AI coming in, instead of you going to places, the places come to you. When you go to ChatGPT and say, I want this, it'll say, okay, based on your recommendation and the kind of things that you wear, this is maybe the 3 options that you choose from. And I think that journey is going to really change the way we experience things. I think we are taking away the whole part of go figure out what you want from everything that I have to like, this is what I think is the best for you.
Now, speaking about AI, do you think AI can replace product designers?
I think it's one of the biggest scare that I listen to most of the times where people say, okay, what's going to happen to my
I
job?
don't think so.
I'm saying it. Okay, question. No. I think I have reasons to believe that. I feel like this is something like I remember, like I've seen those phones which go like they do that, right? I remember playing snakes on that Nokia ka dabba
Nokia
device,
smartphone, yeah.
and I remember thinking like, I think technology has peaked. I think I was blown away.
Okay.
And that phone was something that I remember in Gurgaon, there was some news that someone threw it at someone in their head, kind of cracked and shit. Like, this is the device.
Okay.
And the same device now runs my entire life. Like, how I contacted Chandan this morning, how I came here, how I ordered my food last night, everything happens on this device.
True.
And somehow, from the kid who played snakes to the guy who kind of does everything on this phone, we have adopted. We have adapted to the tech, and we have done good job with it. We have used it to our advantage throughout. I think instead of AI, I would call it tech. And I think we have found our ways in the past, we'll find our ways in the future as well. Like when humans civilization no, so when humans figured out how to make a wheel and how to grow crops and everything, we made civilization, right? I think every time we innovate on something, we find ways to make the best out of it. When print revolution came in, did a lot of workers lose their job? Yes. But at the same time, a lot more books were produced after industrialization. Great ideas could reach to really crazy corners of the world where people could make so much out of it. But did we stop caring about the experience of reading? Did we stop caring about layout design? No. People who updated themselves came out of it strong and kind of still found ways to give back to the world. They still thrived. I think we're in a similar space. It's like the first time calculator came into existence, accountants were like, shit, it's going to take my job. Didn't happen. We got faster accountants.
Yeah.
I think designers are also going to find this where a lot of redundant things that took a lot of our time,
Yeah.
we'll find ways to automate it. We'll become faster designers. We'll become people who can put that time into something more experiential,
Correct.
conversations that really
Correct.
matter. And I see a lot of good things coming out of it. But yeah, I think it's something that you don't have to be scared of and stay at the shore. I would say pick up that surfboard, swim a
Yeah, it's
little.
more of a help.
Yeah.
It's
And
like a
eventually-
support system, even for me.
Yeah. And eventually you'll ride the wave.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about CRED. Do you know how I describe CRED? One word to describe CRED.
Go ahead.
Flamboyant. Because the design space is quite good at CRED. And so I was wondering, what is design at CRED? And I do believe, the app revisions have come lately, right? Recently, there has been some kind of app revision. I can't talk about this, no?
I think that's
Okay.
You might want to elaborate on what app revision is. I don't know what app revision.
Because a year ago, I was using CRED.
Mhm.
I did not like the app. Too cluttered. Too cluttered. So many things happening.
Mhm.
But I recently just opened CRED yesterday. That's because I was hosting you.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's mellowed down now. It's nicer. I feel like the user experience has become better.
Okay.
So there's been a change, at least for me.
Right.
So tell me more about the design philosophy at CRED.
I think CRED is a team of micro minority of designers who like to believe that beauty should exist in everything that we create.
Okay.
It's a very integral part of how we think about things. And it's a very honest attempt at kind of bringing that perspective into all the lives that we can touch. For me personally, I feel like I have been in a lot of companies before this. And a lot of them claim to be design first. But for me, I think I've learned what really a design first company is after coming here.
Okay.
I think the amount of power that design holds in a lot of decisions at CRED is something that I've never experienced before. But with that power comes a lot of responsibility as well. I think you have to kind of think a lot more things than a usual designer would.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something about the people that make this culture is very different. I think until CRED, most of the times whenever I think about collaboration, like it was always developers and designers pitched against each other because they're like,
Okay.
I've created something amazing and these are, it's not feasible, and it's always but somehow in CRED, even the developers that we have are people who are artistic in nature. Like some of them are stand-up comedians, some of them are musicians. These are people who innately care about craft. And when the two teams really connect to the subset of everything which is art that is above everything, the kind of conversations you have is very different. Like I don't fight over feasibility here. If I create something just okay, they'll come and be like, "You kya matlab, maza nahi aa raha. Give us something challenging." As a designer, that's such a rare thing to listen. It was my first couple of years where I was like just blown away because it pushed me, it motivated me to like create something that was something that I would think twice in any other product because I know it would be shot down right from the start. Here, I actually got challenged, inspired, motivated to like create something that is
That's nice.
challenging. And that is something that is built into the culture, because a lot of my team members, we came from a lot of different companies, but somehow we are all able to do the best work of our lives here. And all of that is very much possible because the DNA of it, like people who created that were very passionate about it. Like my boss, we call him Bhai.
That's
Uh,
nice.
The whole company calls him Bhai. He's an
Okay.
amazing guy. I think very few times you meet people in your life where you go like, if I become 1% of this guy, I'll really kuch to mat jayega life mein. Uh, he's the CDO of CRED. We have very few CDOs in India in terms of tech companies. And I think he has worked with Kunal on Free Charge before that. They have that bond. And a lot of battles that I would have had to fight in my past companies, I don't have to fight them because he's there taking care of all of that. So me as a IC designer, I get to focus on creating an experience that I feel a user should have. I don't have to worry about feasibility because my partners in crime, which is my dev team, they will figure out a way to do it. I've never heard a no. I've always heard is looks great, we'll figure out how. And that's how I think a lot of experiences that people thought were not possible were done by this team.
That's nice. That's very lovely. Let's talk money.
Okay.
Tell me, are you a spender or are you a saver?
I think I'm a very selectively curious person. So some things just don't attract me, and some very weird things do. So I'm someone who spends a lot on random Instagram shopping.
Okay, thrifting. You thrift.
Yeah, I get scammed thrice a month. But sometimes
Don't
I'll get
get
really good
scammed.
stuff. I like it's just like I like something, then I'll get it, and it's gonna be very random in terms of why I bought it. But at the same time, like I'm not a fan of driving.
Okay.
So a lot of random things that kind of get people to spend on things, they don't really attract me. Like I shop a lot of random shirts. I like quirky stuff. When you said flamboyant, I think it's something I relate a lot to on a personal level. But I won't spend like a huge, like I'll not get expensive stuff.
Okay.
I'll find quirky stuff I like and I'll buy. Most of that stuff luckily is not expensive.
And how exactly do you manage your personal finances? Like, do you invest?
I am learning the importance of it as
Very good.
I think I'm kind of growing as a person. Now I remember why my dad would go like invest. I'm like, I just started getting money. Let me just. But I think compound interest is a beautiful concept that I'm
Absolutely.
understanding now. But at the same time, I don't think it's like alcohol. Now, some people drink it for the way it tastes. Some people drink it for the experience it leads to.
Correct.
I think money for me, I don't innately relate to why I want it. I just like what it gets me.
Okay.
So that way, I don't end up investing a lot of thought into the whole money part of things.
Okay.
And that's where I come to you folks.
Oh,
Where
nice.
that part is something that just doesn't attract me as much. So I would want someone else to take care of that. I like the part that I can get from it.
So yes, even equities as a market, as an asset class, you're not aware of.
I hear about it. I have to. I think
What exactly do you think of the stock market?
I'll tell you what. I invested in US stocks. I don't really know much about it. I don't read the news of it. I have a very talented artistic designer as my flatmate and my mate for like almost 8 years since Bombay, Bangalore, everything. He's a good Jew. He's like all into
course.
finances. Now, sometimes he'll try to drive me into those conversations and I check out somehow. But I get to hear a couple of things here and there. And for me, that knowledge is very in the moment. It stays with me for that minute. And then the next shiny thing comes and I'm all of it. But he randomly told me about US stocks. I think it was around the time of AR/VR kicking in. And I don't know why I invested in NVIDIA. I liked their logo. It was on my gaming laptop when I was in college. Like, again, random reasons. But somehow my portfolio of US stocks has grown to 105% because of random tech companies that I liked. Tesla that I liked. I'm like, okay.
I mean, Nvidia is the right option, Atul.
Exactly. But imagine, like, that doesn't come from great financial knowledge.
Yeah.
It comes from random weird reasons.
It's not that immersive, I believe. Like, it's a trend, it's a company that is capitalizing on that opportunity.
See, you have such great things to say about it because you know this. See, when I told you I'm selectively curious,
Okay.
I like what I heard. Now, when I go back, I don't think it will pull me towards it. Something else will. I'll actually, I think I was looking at someone's laptop and I saw that the clock app. I love how the small squares were adjusted below it as different timers. I'll go back home and I'll check that out because that has really triggered me right now to check it out. So I think that way it's a boon and at the same time it works against me in so many ways. But yeah, I think there's are things that that really pull me and the things that don't.
Okay, then. Now, since you're not interested in finance, let's go back to design.
That I like.
So you started something called DesignDrug. Can you tell us more about this?
Uh, a lot of things that have happened so far have been very accidental. I think design drug was one of this, just like how graphic design came, product design came, everything. I think life's been kind that way, right? So I think there was a time in CRED when I was like, we make websites for everyone. Designers do that. I'm like, I should have my own website. I made a version before that, but I wanted to make a version where I'm not bound by any requirement. I was like, I don't need a job right now. I love where I am. I love meeting these people. And I think CRED that way has been a crazy amalgamation of the most talented people I've ever surrounded myself with and who are also the most nicest human beings. I felt no need to be anywhere else in the moment. I was like, this is the right time to go. Like, if I had to create a website for myself, and I call it my website, I don't call it my portfolio because I believe I'm more than my pixels. There's so much more to me than a designer. I want to create my own representation on a virtual form out there on the net. How would I go about it? And I went and I was like, I was so bored with this whole I'm a user centered problem solver. Hi, my name is this. I'm like, that's not anyone talks at a party or when anyone introduces themselves. Why the hell should my website do that? My tagline says, hi, I'm Atul Khola. I suck at maths, which answers a lot of your financial questions at the same time. But there's one equation I never get wrong, which is beautiful UI plus efficient UX plus developer interaction leads to a timeless product.
Let's say it again.
I'll have to remember it. Okay. It says, I suck at maths, but there's one equation I don't get wrong, which is beautiful UI plus efficient UX plus delightful interaction leads to a timeless product.
Nice.
And then then I went crazy after that. Then I'm like, I hate making case studies, but when I do, I want to make them right. And it also has a section which says, life is more than just arguing with PMs, and it has my social feed and stuff like that. So I went and created that with no need of finding another job. I was like, this is unapologetically me, and this is how I present myself. And just because it was a novel take on designers having their website and the way I could communicate myself, it went viral. And back then, on weekends, I used to help some of the people I cared about on a Discord channel learn or get into design. There were like 5-6 of them. And when I was creating one of these sections of how they can reach out to me on my website, I had 5 blocks. I wanted another one to balance it. I was like, what do I put there? So I put one of my Discord links. Now, the portfolio went out and it was like 7-8 scrolls. In that, one of the scroll had the 6th block as Discord. I had no hope of it even being noticed. But suddenly the next day there were around 2.5 thousand designers on the Discord being like, we are here, what do we do here, what do we do here? And then I was like, okay, I didn't plan for this. And it's a weekend. I really want to go out, party and chill. I don't want to like get into this. I was like, if I don't engage with them, eventually they'll leave. I took 3-4 days. They didn't. It became like 3,500. I'm like, okay, shit. And then one of the kids who was helping out, they just loved the guy to bits. He just went like, oh, we do really cool things here. You'll have fun. And now I'm like, now I'm in a situation like, now I have to address them. And then I spoke to Malik, my mentor, Varina, my flatmate, and we all hop jobs together. We all enter the same company. They're also lead product designers at CRED right now. Most talented people I've ever worked with. We're like, this is something that has presented itself. We didn't plan for it. But maybe this is a way we can actually add value, or maybe it's like there's a great wave of designers coming in. This is a small chance to maybe direct it towards a direction we feel is right. And we have an opportunity. Can we do something about it? And we're like, right, let's do this. It was a brainchild since I had in college. We call it DesignDrug. We went in there, and the whole point of that was, for me, was to be Malik to a lot of other people if I could. And the goal was like, we'll never turn this into a business of sorts. It's just a community of designers. We call it almost the coolest club for designers. And we say that you go and you learn from the best of the best. Go to college, go to cohort courses, go anywhere.
That's nice.
But when you come here, we learn by creating together, because that's how I learn things. I can't read, can't do books, no attention span. The only way I learn is by
How
creating
did you
something.
pass like a architecture exam, NIFT?
I have no idea. Like I said, life has been kind that way. But these people, they came in and we created some crazy solutions for this. There was a construct called Build, which was about getting people to be good at UI. So everything that I found was lacking in terms of guidance, in terms of skill, and the designers that I would perceive, and I would kind of look at the portfolios, I kind of created constructs around that. And some of them worked really well. Like Build was a construct which was a 90-day framework, aggressive framework to get good at visual design for you people who want to be good at UI. And I'm not even kidding. We gamified that experience to every last second, because then it became like a product. Like, how do we create this experience? We made it. And the only point was, you have to create something every single day for 90 days, and there is a pool in amount. And people who stay by the end of it, the pool gets divided amongst them. So that becomes a extrinsic motivation to be in the space. The intrinsic one is that what I could promise them is, by the end of 90 days, if you stick into this framework, you will be good at your visual design.
Okay.
I think 180 designers joined.
Nice.
60 of them stayed till the end of it. And another thing was, you don't create a Mona Lisa and keep it at your place. You create it, you show it outside, because some days you will feel tired by creating this every single day. And at those days, you'll need these people to motivate you by saying that, hey, you inspired me. You have been creating every single day, posting it out there. I love it. You have inspired me to do it the same. And that day, you'll do it for them, not for yourself. And people stayed. Rohit was one of my biggest achievements in that construct. That dude had 30, 40 offers halfway through this construct, because he was so much pushing it out there, putting his work there every day out there. And so many people got good at, and the biggest success of that was, there were so many success stories out of it by the end of it, that it brought like, okay, the hours that you get after your day job is done and you have your personal life to handle and everything, you're putting it into something that brought so much value. So when you ask me, like, do you think I'm Malik to a few people? I think I've attempted. I think I might have minutely succeeded at too. But I think that's what.
You're being humble, very humble.
But I think that's what DesignDrug is. So far, I don't want to turn into a business yet. Maybe someday. But right now, it's kind of fulfilling a very different part of me. I haven't been very active there since the last 1 year. And I have told this to all the community members that I was going through a very different patch of life. And it's not something that I want them to be loyal to. It's something that I've created for everyone. And the day I have something better to give, I'll come back to it. Now I'm just finding different ways to provide that value.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, let's quickly move on to some personal questions. All right. So, what are 3 things that you would have in your bag as a product designer?
I don't know if you saw my bag outside. It's a big school
Yeah,
bag.
it's a big bag.
Yeah. So I think every time I get uh, so my day kind of puts me in Indranagar throughout like 24 hours pretty much there. And I have a couple of things that I do. Like, it starts at 6-ish in the morning when I have to wake up, go to this dance class, then there's gym, then there's office, and this whole thing runs for like 5 days a week.
Okay.
So this bag has to like account for all of those changes and shoes and everything. But if you're a product designer, you can actually have a much good looking bag than mine.
Okay.
And I think I would say laptop,
Okay.
a mouse, because I can't function without it. I don't know, I can't just work on a laptop, and an iPad.
Okay.
Because a lot of times I feel like there's this whole, I think storytelling happens on sketchboards rather than UI. I think UI is kind of a derivation of that story when you turn that into, like, any form of user experience is just, or those UX screens are just storytelling divided into frames. So I think the whole ideation of those frames happens on a lot of sketching stuff. And I think pen and notebook I haven't touched for almost 8 years now. I think,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I sometimes I write. I'm like, wow, I have a beautiful handwriting. But yeah, I think iPad has been that way of quickly pushing out those ideas out there, and I think then creating it on Figma and all that comes in for me. Um, some people are way more artistic than me. They would have a drawing book and a lot of better things, but I think I just usually keep these three.
Nice. And what are the other things that you do outside of designing that helps you stay creative?
I think this one is very weird for me. Usually, most of the designers that I know would say that it's interior design, it's Pinterest. Go and I grab, inspiration from the nature and so many different things. For me, it's gym for some reason. Like,
Of course, fitness.
I think more than fitness, I think more than what it kind of means to me, I think it's a space. I think uh, humanity worked its way around creating life easier for themselves. They made wheel, they made a pulley. They're like, okay, this is easy. And then comes gym, totally against the whole evolution. It was like lift heavy, things move around. Uh, but somehow, gym is also a space where a lot of people come together, and everyone wants to be better, a version of themselves. Now they could be at a different place in this journey, but everyone's moving toward that thing. And I'm a very so there are people who are optimistic, they go half glass full. There are people who are pessimistic, like half glass empty. I'm easily optimistic. I'm like, oh, water. I'm like, good. So for me, that space just gives out this crazy energy that just pumps me up in a very different way. It's the people that I see around myself. I've seen their journey. I've noticed their journey so far. It just gives me a great amount of energy. And somehow it becomes a space where I get most of my eureka moments. Like it's a place where I untangle life, I solve most of my issues, I kind of just go into this amazing place because everything else is very automated for me. So I think for me it's gym for some reason. I think that's where I drive a lot of inspiration from. Because I feel like while the world outside has so much to offer, there is so much that we absorb subconsciously on a daily basis that we don't really unbox and unfold. I think it becomes that space for me.
Okay. Okay, my last question. What's your, just the personal round, what's your go to place to unwind, decompress in Bangalore?
Uh, there is this place called Soka.
It's a cocktail bar.
Yes. uh, the reason I like it a lot is it's as small as this space.
True.
And it's run by very passionate bartenders who really care about their craft. And I think what I like about cocktails as a thing is it's a very great way of their way of self-expression, because they come up with experimental stuff, and it's not just about what you create with. If you look at it from a functional aspect, alcohol is supposed to get you high, but for them it's also about how it tastes. It's also about how you present. So I feel like if for me they're like designers
Of course, yeah.
who are creating a very different experience, and I get very inspired from that. And that space, the way it's created, the way I think every single thing, how the menu keeps on changing, the way they make the website, it's very artistic in nature. And I
Nice.
think it's a great space where I go and just feel like it's my people.
Okay.
And
That's
that's why I don't like breweries, and especially these big breweries, because I feel like you just make something for the masses and you just throw it in a jug and you give it to everyone. It doesn't feel like it's done for me.
Okay. All right. So now let's jump into some rapid fire questions. Okay. What's your favorite design software? And this is rapid fire. You've got to be quick.
Oh, I think Figma right now.
Okay. DesignDrug in 3 words.
Designers stronger together.
Okay. Are you a night person or a early bird?
Early bird.
Oh, nice. That is new.
I have to wake up at 6 every morning to reach the class at 7, which I reach at
Okay.
7:30 because I have punctuality issues. But yeah,
Design trend that you are currently excited for.
monolith,
Okay. How would you describe yourself in 1 word?
chaos,
You're chaos. Okay. I think I know the answer to this question. Digital or physical design tools?
digital,
Okay. Describe your ideal design environment.
CRED,
Okay. Nice. Now, if your design team was a music band, what would it be called?
mafia,
All right. Myth or fact? AI will replace designers.
myth,
Simplicity is always the best approach while it comes to designing.
What was the other one? Myth or
Fact.
myth?
Design is only about aesthetics.
Myth.
Designers can have their own design style and they can use it everywhere.
Fact.
Designers should always focus on functionality over aesthetics.
Myth.
More features are always better.
Myth.
Designers should be good artists in real life.
Can I use any other word apart from these two? Because I'm getting a lot of words here.
Yes, you can use any other word.
Okay, what is the question again?
Designers should be good artists in real life.
Yes.
Designers should always know how to code.
Not really, no.
Okay, before we wrap up, can you give out one advice to a budding designer out there who's just starting off?
Right. I think a couple of months back, I got an Instagram message from this designer, and this designer goes to like 70% disability. And I think what he mentioned was, we talk a lot about how to get good at design and what's the competition like and how to like thrive in this space. We don't talk about it kind of burns you out and the kind of inferiority complex sometimes it leaves you in. And I think that is something I make sure that if I ever go anywhere, this is the last thing that I end this with. So I think through college and most of these experiences that we built the initial years of our career with, I think we come to this whole idea where every time you work hard, like you put a lot of effort into something, you get good results. And when this cycle repeats every week, every month in school, in your college, through juries and through assignments, what you start kind of correlating is that hustle leads to achievement. And this makes me feel good. So hustle is supposed to make you feel that you're doing the grind, you're doing good. Now, when you keep doing this for a couple of years over time, what happens is you come into a nice space where sometimes when you're not hustling and things just happen, you kind of try to look back and you're like, hey, wait, is this comfort zone? Is this how I've kind of stagnated my growth? Is this where this ends? Now, sometimes it requires a better judgment of identifying what comfort zone is, because for all you know, all this hard work that we've been doing for was to reach to this place. This is actually you bearing the fruits of all the hard work you've done so far. So it's important to kind of go a little bit easy on yourself. It's
True,
important to
very
kind
true.
of like, don't be alive, live up a little. Like for anyone who's hearing this podcast, I don't want you to like this be the highlight of your day. Like make sure whenever you're done with this, you actually go out, have fun, go party, get drunk, do anything fun that's out there. Like you're much more than your pixels. So while you keep on pursuing that, and if you have fun today, trust me, you're gonna feel very motivated to work tomorrow. So make sure that there's in this whole way of becoming great in terms of what you do and becoming a great designer, you don't miss out on the journey of it, because that is something that you'll always remember. So yeah, live a little. You're more than your designers. So you're more than your pixels.
All right, then. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Atul. I had a lot of fun. I learned so much about design, and it's always nice to meet someone who's so passionate and real about their work. I enjoyed it, and I hope our audience did too. And to our viewers, we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning and keep innovating.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.